Fredbear's Family Diner, a restaurant located within the US state of Utah. Setting it apart from other restaurants are its two animal mascots, Fredbear the bear and Spring Bonnie the rabbit. The owner, Henry Emily, used his unique ingenuity to design these animatronics so they could also become wearable as suits. Called Springlock suits, a series of springs would pull the robotic parts out into the insides of the suit, with the use of a hand crank, creating space for a human occupant to wedge in the middle and wear it. This allowed for mascot performances at the diner to have a sense of life and immersion by using the same animatronic on stage and at the dining floor. In order to switch between suit and animatronic mode, the spring locks will have to be loosened. This would cause all the metallic parts to shoot into the inside of the suit, assembling the animatronic and the skeleton where there was a human previously. Human occupants must exit the suit before switching to an animatronic mode. Otherwise, their bodies will be pierced and crushed by all the parts compressing into them. There is a risk, however, that the spring locks might loosen while an occupant is still inside, if moisture is present or excessive physical contact of the spring locks occur. Due to this risk, spring lock suits are put on with the help from other diner workers, like we see here with William helping out an employee with his suit. William Afton is a member of Fredbear's Family Diner and a good friend of Henry Emily. He even lives on the same block where the diner operates, sharing a house with his wife, his two sons, Michael and the youngest child, his daughter, Elizabeth. Unlike other kids his age, the Afton's youngest son is terrified of animatronics. Other kids and even his older brother teases him about it, with his parents being busy working or dealing with little Elizabeth to be there for him when he needs them. To provide some comfort, William gives him a stuffed Fredbear plush, which has a radio inside that allows William to talk to his son while he is away from him. He also plays some other plushies around their house and the short walk that led to Fredbear's, all to give the illusion that his little friend is always with him. Around this time, Fredbear's began expanding by creating a sister restaurant chain, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, across various locations. It is the birthday of the Afton's youngest son. His brother, Michael, and his buddies decide that they will get a good laugh out of shoving the head of the birthday boy inside Fredbear's mouth. The jaws tighten around the head of the young child. His tears fell on the spring locks inside Fredbear's head, and coupled with his wiggling, the spring locks snapped back into place, forcing Fredbear's mouth shut, crushing the head of the boy. As a result of this tragic accident, Fredbear's Family Diner and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza locations retired their spring lock suits and replaced them with conventional mascot suits. Some spring locks were left in the safe rooms, while others were taken to an underground facility to be stored there. The Afton's youngest son managed to survive the bite, but a traumatic brain injury meant he might not have long left to live. This devastating event shook the family of the Aftons, so much so that the two parents separated, with Miss Afton moving into a different house within a wooden area away from Fredbear's, with her youngest son and Michael, who has become remorseful for what he did. William wished he could have done something to prevent the accident, a sentiment Miss Afton shared twofold, but his anger was currently at the fact that Miss Afton, who has become an alcoholic, does not allow him to spend time with his son while he is still alive. So he designed a plan. He would give the bite victim plushies, which causes the boy to see terrifying monster animatronics from his past trauma. This will cause his son to dread being inside the house, which he shares with his own mother and Michael, pushing the boy into desiring to run away. William would watch this unfold through hidden cameras placed inside the house, watching through them at the underground facility where the Springlock suits were stored. It was a small field cleared for the construction of the restaurant, but before it got built, a tunnel was constructed that led to the underground facility, a tunnel identical to the one that Fredbear's had. The opening of this tunnel was near to the house where the bite victim was, so William would use this rabbit hole to get close to his son after watching him through the cameras. William would then wear the replacement Spring Bunny suit and wait near the back window. The bite victim would break through the window in fear of the monsters he could see inside, and follow the Spring Bunny Man whom he trusted. The Afton mother would then come home to find her son gone, causing her to become enraged. Eventually, the bite victim would succumb to his brain trauma with the echoing voices of his brother's regret and a father's promise before dying on his hospital bed. The boy's spirit would come back as a shadow of the animatronic that had filled his life with tragedy. After the death of his youngest son, a custody battle ensued between William and his ex-wife over Elizabeth. William manipulated Elizabeth into making the court take his side, earning custody of her. This further made the mother spiral deeper into grief, leading her to end her own life. Michael was left with nightmares that would haunt him for a long time, a result of memories from the spirit of his younger brother attaching to him as well. But William would be the one to fall the deepest into despair. With a dead son and a shattered family, he placed his blame on Henry for being the designer of Fredbear and the Springlock suits, and so his resentment grew. One day, while driving near the alleyway behind Fredbear's, he spotted Charlotte Emily, Henry's young daughter. She had been locked out in the rain by other kids that were bullying her, and William saw his opportunity to take revenge for his son, so he stepped out of his car and killed Charlie. He would then leave her laying on the ground and drove off into the night. An animatronic puppet that was designed by Henry to keep an eye on Charlie noticed that she was locked outside, but it was prevented from helping her by the bullies. He eventually manages to get out, but it was too late. Using its remaining strength, it crawls the distance through the rain and reaches Charlie before completely collapsing while enveloping her. The spirit of Charlotte escapes and is absorbed into the puppet. Her body is found soon after. The death of his own daughter and the real presence of a murderer lurking around leads Henry to close Fredbear's family diner once and for all, leaving Fazbear Entertainment managing Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It has been 2 years since the closing of Fredbear's Family Diner. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has found huge success thanks to the appeal of its animatronic mascots, Freddy Fazbear, Bunny the Rabbit, Chica the Chicken, and Foxy the Parrot. William Afton's desire for killing kept growing ever since he murdered Charlie. He wanted more blood, and he knew the way to do it. He would lure children into the restaurant's back room using a decommissioned Spring Bunny Springlock suit. His first victim, a little girl named Susie, was lured by William with the promise that her dead dog was waiting for her inside the safe room. After Susie, William would lure 4 more children: Jeremy, Gabriel, Fritz, and finally Cassidy. The murderers would be named the Missing Children's Incident, as none of the kids would ever be found. William left the bodies of the children where they fell, just like he did once before with Charlie. He still had some time left before anyone would discover them. But before that could happen, the puppet would appear. It was brought over to the pizzeria after Fredbear's closed, and now that it is alive, thanks to Charlie's spirit, it seeks to bestow the same gift of life to the dead children. It grabbed the children's bodies and stuffed them inside the animatronic mascots: Susie in Chica, Jeremy in Bunny, Gabriel in Freddy, and Fritz in Foxy. As for Cassidy, the puppet stuffed her inside the decommissioned Springlock suit of Fredbear, and she would then manifest herself as Golden Freddy. But attached to the suit was also the spirit of the bite victim, whose pain and suffering had cast a shadow over Fredbear, manifesting his spirit as Shadow Freddy. A search for the missing kids was initiated. Security camera footage caught William wearing the Spring Bunny suit and taking the children to the safe room. William was apprehended, but he was let go since the bodies of the children were nowhere to be found. There wasn't sufficient evidence to place William behind bars. As for the safe room, management decided to seal it completely off with the Spring Bunny suit still inside. Meanwhile, the Freddy's animatronics began to excrete a terrible smell, with bodily fluids oozing through the suits due to the undiscovered bodies they held inside. This, coupled with the missing children's incident, resulted in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza shutting down. Fazbear Entertainment plans on reopening Freddy Fazbear's Pizza at a new location. The old animatronics were first meant to be the mascots, but due to their ugliness and smell, Fazbear Entertainment designed the toy animatronics. In an attempt to avoid another missing children's incident, these animatronics were designed with advanced facial scanning technology that was connected to a criminal database. This allowed them to scan individuals in the crowd and alert if there were any dangerous persons among them. The withered animatronics were stored in the parts and service room to be used for parts later on. William Afton is working once more for the pizzeria as a night guard.
You're only the second guard to work at that location. The first guy finished his week but complained about conditions. We switched him over to the day shift. So, hey, lucky you, right? Mainly he expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office.
During the first week there at the office, he notices something abnormal. The withered animatronics are moving at night. Having experience in working with these animatronics, he goes to have a look at what might be causing them to walk around when they aren't supposed to. And that's when he sees it, the decomposing body of a child he had killed years before. He goes to check the other withered animatronics, and the same was true for them. The bodies of his victims were inside the animatronics, a mystery to him as to how that could have happened. He realizes that the spirits of the victims he had killed now reside within the animatronics, making the machines come to life. But he knew one thing for certain: the fact that the bodies had not been found yet was what saved him from being convicted of murder. And now that he has found the bodies, he needs to get rid of them. So he grabs the corpses and goes to hide them somewhere outside of the location. But the fact that he had become witness to the possibility of achieving immortality dawned on him. So he scavenged some parts from the corpses and
he pieced the remains together
to take with him to experiment on at a later time. After cleaning up his crime scene, William still experienced the animatronics trying to get inside his office at night. This included the toy animatronics, which are infused with the spirits of the missing children as well, after parts of the withered animatronics were used on them. William informs the restaurant about the animatronics' behavior and requests to be moved to the day shift. Jeremy Fitzgerald is then hired to be the new night guard for the second week, but the animatronics, being aware that night guard was the one who took their bodies away and was likely the murderer, continued to try to get inside the security office in order to make him one of them. Eventually, what remained of the corpses of the missing children was found by the police, reopening the investigation of Freddy's.
Okay, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
William Afton is prohibited to re-enter the restaurant, given his involvement in the past with luring children to the back room, but no evidence was able to be found of him moving any bodies. But all of the animatronics began to act more aggressive after someone decided to try on Fredbear's suit. The restaurant found everything to be all too much to handle and decided to close down for a while, but not before scheduling one last birthday party. Jeremy was moved to the day shift, and Fritz Smith was hired to replace him. But while Jeremy was working as security for the birthday party, one of the animatronics bit down on his head, crushing his skull. Jeremy was able to survive the attack, but not without losing his frontal lobe. This last tragedy was enough for Fazbear Entertainment to be aware that despite their best efforts, all trust on the safety of the restaurant was thrown down the gutter, and there was no going back. So with that, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was closed once more, the toys getting completely scrapped, and the withered kept in storage for the possible reopening of the pizzeria in the future. William Afton saw an opportunity with the closure of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He would open his own establishment and use it as an experiment to understand the limits of animatronic possession in a quest to discover immortality. He creates his own company, Afton Robotics LLC, and with it, he designs the Funtime animatronics, basing the animatronics designs on the perfect family he wished to have. He took the stitched remains of the missing children and placed them inside Funtime Freddy, and using the scooper that he created, he injected Remnant into the rest of the Funtimes. Remnant being the name that William calls the molten metal that is infused with the spirits of the dead. The spirits of the missing children are now in control of the Funtime animatronics, split in two with the classic animatronics, like they were once split with the toys. William also designed the Funtime animatronics with the abilities that aided in the capture and killing of children in order to test his theories on Remnant. So he would create Circus Baby's Pizza World, a restaurant meant to attract families to dine in, so the animatronics could lure the children away and capture them. But before the restaurant could even open its doors, William held a private showing of the restaurant before the actual public opening, allowing kids and their families to see how the location is like. Elizabeth Afton, William's daughter, was also brought into the private showcase by William himself. William had warned Elizabeth not to get near the Funtimes, knowing the dangerous intent he designed them with. Elizabeth really wanted to see Circus Baby, knowing her father designed the robot with Elizabeth in mind, so she did not take heed to her father's warning and got near Circus Baby. But the giant animatronics programming activated, and after detecting Elizabeth was alone with no one close by, a claw shot out of her stomach hatch, pulling Elizabeth inside. Elizabeth was only able to scream for a short while before she died, the excitement of the other children that walked in silencing her sounds of pain. William discovered what happened. He was devastated. Now there was no one else to blame. His dark desires are what led to the death of his own daughter. The grief that fell upon him drowned the aspirations he had to experiment on Remnant, so William cancelled the opening of Circus Baby's Pizza World, disguising everything as the result of a gas leak. He transported all the Funtime animatronics to the old underground bunker that he has used for many years, and sold everything off to Fazbear Entertainment before withdrawing into his own darkness. Fazbear Entertainment repurposed the old underground bunker into Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals. They would utilize the Funtimes for a rental service where the animatronics will be rented out individually for parties and events. While William was being consumed by his own grief, Michael was in search of answers that William said could be found at the underground facility, informing Michael that his sister is down there and in need of being put back together. Michael applies for the late night technician position at Circus Baby's, where through the course of 5 nights, he follows the guidance of Circus Baby herself in an attempt to survive the animatronics and accomplish the mission that brought him there. The Funtime animatronics were sent one by one to the scooping room by other technicians in order to be dismantled, with Circus Baby being sent there by Michael at the end. What Michael did not know was that Circus Baby was tricking him all this time, eventually leading him into the scooping room where an amalgamation of all the Funtimes entered was waiting for him. The scooper is activated and carves a hole into Michael's torso while also injecting him with Remnant. Enters Michael's body through the cavity and begins to control his body from within, walking out of the underground facility successfully thanks to the perfect disguise. After days of being inside Michael and controlling his body to the point of decay. Anarch ejects out of Michael's mouth and into the sewer, leaving Michael with a promise. Soon after, Circus Baby and the rest of the Fun Times have a conflict over who should be in control of the group. The majority of the spirits deciding to exile Circus Baby from the amalgamation of metal, resulting in Elizabeth eventually becoming Scrap Baby, and the rest of the spirits continuing to reside together as Molten Freddy. Despite the brutal torture and literal death of his body, Michael has found the dark secrets that his father William has been hiding all these years. From the truth about Elizabeth to the torture William exposed his little brother to all those years ago. Enraged and filled with new purpose, Michael sets out with a new mission in mind.
There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
After the closing of the 1987 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location and the abandoning of the Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals project, Fazbear Entertainment used the little funds they still have remaining to open Freddy Fazbear's Pizza one last time at the original location from a decade prior, taking the winter animatronics they had in storage and turning them into the classic designs. But due to the bite of 87 in the prior location, these animatronics were no longer equipped with the ability to walk during the day. Michael applies to work as a night guard at this Freddy's restaurant under the name Mike Schmidt in order to further uncover the mysteries of his father's dark past. He soon finds out that the animatronics are out to kill him, continuing their trend of seeking out security guards after William was one in the 1987 location. And that's not all. These animatronics are still possessed by the victims of the missing children incident, even while a part of their spirits also reside in a monster stalking the sewers underneath. Michael also listens to the death of Fungi, who was killed by the animatronics some time ago, but not before leaving instructional tapes for the night guards. But after a week on the job, Michael gets fired. The restaurant closed for good during the end of that same year due to being unable to maintain a stable business after all the monetary failures and blood-filled publicity. And so this marks the end of the last Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to date. After the restaurant closed, William Afton's past desire of finding immortal life resurfaced. The grief that had weighed him down has transformed into motivation. Since Molten Freddy and Scrap Baby were on the loose, there was only one location where he could acquire remnant for him to experiment on, and that was the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He would break into the place and go inside the safe room that was once fully concealed with a wall. In there, he would hide safely as the animatronics were not programmed to walk inside the room, and one by one, the animatronics would try to get to William, the apparition of Shadow Freddy alerting that William was there. As soon as the animatronics got close enough, William would run out and dismantle them. But after destroying the main 4 animatronics, the children's spirits that reside inside became present to him and blocked William from leaving the safe room. Soon after, the spirit of Cassidy would walk in to scare William into putting on the Spring Bunny Springlock suit. The animatronic suit had been laying there ever since William committed his murders, preserved in there since the room was sealed for so long. But due to the moisture and sudden movements, the springlocks inside began to fail, impaling William inside with robotic parts and slowly killing him, sentencing him into being Springtrap. Much speculation and rumors surrounding the atrocities that have occurred within the walls of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza have risen throughout the decades after they closed their doors. This led to the idea of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. It would house authentic relics and artifacts from the pizzerias, including animatronic shells and decorations of the past. Michael Afton would work here as a security guard once more, taking on the role well before the attraction would open to the public. Michael was interested in the prospect of finding clues about his father and the victims among all the objects that used to belong to Freddy's. One of the items that was collected here was a security logbook that was made for the last Freddy's location, which Michael wrote on during his time at the horror attraction, but it also contained faded writing and altered text that showed a conversation between two spirits. One day, a Spring Bonnie animatronic was brought into the attraction after being found in the back room of the old pizzeria where it was lying. It was unknown to Michael at first, but Springtrap contained the rotting corpse of his father, with it long dead but now possessing the rabbit costume. And not only that, but the soul of the missing children were here, even the spirit of Michael's own little brother, and being brought in one place due to the artifacts and parts that contained their essences. And with that, Michael sets out to put the children back together, thanks to his connection to them from when he got injected with remnant by the scooper. He frees the spirits that remained in the location, alongside the spirit of his younger brother. Michael succeeded. The children and the bite victim received their happiest day and were set free, but the spirit of Charlie refused to cross to the other side, sensing that a part of the missing children's spirits still remained somewhere else. And with that, Michael decides to set the building ablaze in order to consume all the dark history and destroy Springtrap inside. The fire was blamed on faulty wiring, but despite the destruction, William would manage to survive the flames. Henry Emily has been aware all this time of the darkness that has been born out of William's evil, and he has decided to no longer allow any of it to go on any further. Henry puts Fazbear Entertainment back in business and prepares a Freddy Fazbear's Pizzaplex location where he would bring all the remaining animatronics together by using a signal to attract them there. Also, he could free their souls. All he needed was a volunteer who would take on the responsibility of managing the restaurant in order to bring in customers and create an environment that would entice the presence of the possessed animatronics. This is where Michael comes in, taking on the task of being in charge of the restaurant and salvaging the animatronics that come to his restaurant's back alley. Eventually, the 4 remaining animatronics are brought in by the call that Henry had sent out. This included Scrap Baby with the spirit of Elizabeth, Molten Freddy with the spirits of the missing children that remained, and Scrap Trap with the spirit of William Afton. The spirit of Henry's daughter Charlie was brought in as Lefty, an animatronic designed by Henry to lure in the puppet and keep it contained inside of itself. Finally, Henry allows the temperature of the building to increase uncontrollably, resulting in the building catching fire and burning everything inside. Michael's sole purpose in life to seek to correct his father's mistakes had led him to this very moment, and so he let himself get engulfed in flames with the rest of the animatronics and Henry. Everything would be destroyed, every memory would be forgotten, and every soul would be freed once and for all. After the smoke cleared, Fazbear Entertainment would be dissolved, and everything was set right, at least for the moment. The fire that Henry created was not enough to free the soul of Cassidy inside Molten Freddy, but it did succeed in freeing the rest of the children. The spirit of Cassidy was not ready to let go of her murderer without having him suffer by her own hands, and so Cassidy would absorb William inside the body of Molten Freddy, forcing him to suffer death after death through the animatronics and creations that had been present across the many years of the franchise, inside a nightmare realm of Cassidy's making him suffer as a payback for the suffering she went through because of his evil. During all of this, a figure would call out to her to let go of William and come to her final resting place. It did not take long for Fazbear Entertainment to be picked back up to start conducting business once again. One of the first plans the company had in mind was to transform Freddy Fazbear's Pizzaplex into a museum of the company's history, but unbeknownst to them, something remained inside. Fazbear Entertainment would then bring in animatronics and components from the many Fazbear locations of the past into one place to create this museum of theirs. But among the things brought into the pizza place was something dangerous: the Mimic. The Mimic is an endoskeleton with the ability to mimic things it encounters. But when it was brought into the pizza place, it began to turn against the workers. They managed to eventually lock the Mimic inside a room, blocking the entrance with concrete. Fazbear Entertainment also created the MXES computer program, which was made to hold the Mimic in place. Due to the Mimic incident, the museum was cancelled. William Afton continued to be tormented by Cassidy inside Molten Freddy, but he noticed all the animatronics that were brought in for the museum. William would then take this opportunity to escape by essentially exploding and spreading his essence across all the animatronics that were there. Fazbear Entertainment, no longer needing all the vintage animatronics due to the museum being cancelled, would take the vintage animatronics and send them to different, smaller companies that were contracted with Fazbear Entertainment. In the meantime, a plan to build a mega pizzaplex on top of the pizza place began to take effect. But having a new location would be difficult with the dark past of the restaurant chain, so the solution was made to develop video games that made light of the events that had been rumored. An indie developer was hired by Fazbear Entertainment to create these games, and in a well-thought-out conspiracy, Fazbear Entertainment would hire a game dev company, SAVETHEM, to make a separate virtual reality game whose purpose was to make fun of the events from the indie games, covering past memories with layers of lies. The game Silver Parasol Games was making would be called the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience. During the development process, Silver Parasol Games was sent old circuit boards from the cancelled museum that unknown contained a fragment of William's essence, and were told to scan them into the game to speed up the development process. This resulted in a William Afton entity to manifest itself inside the game. This virus, otherwise known as Glitchtrap, would present itself as a Spring Bonnie suit. The employee in charge of beta testing the game at the time was named Jeremy. He would notice the entity appear, and it would continue to hunt him from there on, giving him nightmares and influencing him in strange ways. Eventually, Jeremy would use a paper guillotine to cut his own face off. Tape Girl would then replace Jeremy herself and would create 16 tapes inside the game to document the events that had been happening. But Glitchtrap would find a way to attach itself to the logs and find safety within them, forcing Tape Girl to separate logs to minimize its power. The video game project would then be taken away from Silver Parasol Games and given to a different group. This is when a woman named Vanessa would come in as the new beta tester for the game, but she would be tricked by Glitchtrap into assembling the tapes. The anomaly then traps a part of Vanessa's soul inside the Princess Quest game, and it escapes into the mind of Vanessa, taking control of her. Its next goal being the new Freddy's location, the Mega Pizzaplex. Silver Parasol Games was not the only company that Fazbear Entertainment made a contract with. A different company was given the contract to create the Fazbear Funtime service, in which animatronics resembling those of past pizzerias would be sent to service users to interact with. Fazbear Entertainment sent old animatronics to the company, which then used a power drill to remove their casings and take the circuit boards to then scan them into the Funtime service system. One of the circuit boards contained another part of William's essence, which when uploaded to the system began spreading and taking control away from the company. The virus was able to make the animatronics act aggressive and even create an animatronic copy of Springtrap. Back at the pizza place, Cassidy has noticed that William has escaped the cycle of torment. Enraged that her killer had slipped away from her punishment, she would seek out all the animatronic parts that contained William's essence. Cassidy would then grab them and absorb them into her own body mass, eventually becoming a tangle of animatronic parts. Fazbear Entertainment would witness this living mass of ancient animatronic parts, and so they would issue a warning to all contracted companies to cease all work arc related to vintage animatronics. The Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex finished construction and finally opened to the public. Vanessa would then transfer into the security department of the Pizzaplex as a night guard. A boy named Gregory would frequently visit the Pizzaplex, using his special hacking skills to obtain the top high score on the Pizzaplex arcade machines. Vanessa, under the influence of William, would consider Gregory's abilities to be useful, and so she would make Gregory fall under her manipulation of William as well. Vanessa would create herself a bunny suit and call herself Vanny. Princess Quest, which contained Vanessa's soul being guarded by a piece of glitchtrap, would be ported into 3 different arcade machines, bringing Vanessa's trapped soul into them as well. Vanny would hide the arcade machines across the Pizzaplex and even in her own room in order to prevent that part of Vanessa from being freed. Vanny would enlist the help of Gregory's hacking skills once more in order to create a way to upload the essence of Glitchtrap into the Pizzaplex system. Gregory would give Vanny his backpack that contained a mechanism to upload Glitchtrap into the system.
And I'm surprised by your knowledge of computers. You're something of a phenom. Do you know what that word means? It means you have unusual skill, like a hacker. I assume you know what a hacker is, yes? Do you think of yourself as a hacker?
I have this still shot the Tex pulled from the security footage that recorded you in the Pizzaplex. That's you, isn't it? I know this image is distorted, but I think it looks like you. And you're not alone here. You're talking to someone. Or something. It's hard to tell. What are those things? They almost look like rabbit ears. What? You find that amusing? Well, I guess it is.
Vanny would then go down to the underground pizza place. She would find the MXES computer that had secured the mimic in place. The MXES computer was connected to the rest of the Pizzaplex system, but what made the MXES computer ideal for Glitchtrap was that it was secretly deep underground and away from unwanted hands. And so Vanny would upload the essence of Glitchtrap into the MXES computer, granting him access to the entire Pizzaplex. Vanny would use a Vanny mask that she made herself to communicate with him.
Apparently, the glitch extended beyond the robots. It went system-wide. It began infecting all the machines, and when the Tex traced the glitch back to its origin, it led them to you. I'm not going to pretend to understand everything I'm reading here, but what I get is that the system-wide glitch was like a cascade that was broadcasting a very dangerous message. While the Tex were trying to reprogram the system to remove the glitch, the source of the glitch shifted. You'll have to excuse me, I'm not all that familiar with computer programming, so I might get this wrong, but what I understand is that the glitch stopped being a glitch and turned into an intentional set of subroutines that were aimed at creating the same thing the glitch created. Those subroutines seem to have come from you. Can you explain that?
Taking charge of the Pizzaplex, the William Afton entity would prevent anyone from going down to the Pizza Place sinkhole. He would also make Vanessa into the only security guard at night, replacing most of the workers with staff bots. The entity would then cause the animatronics to act differently. This led to Monty destroying Glamrock Bonnie, with Fazbear Entertainment trying to cover it up, and even using animatronics kill Gregory's therapists that were lured into the Pizzaplex after they got too close to Gregory. Meanwhile, Vanessa would attempt to transfer the entity into a new vessel, but before that could happen, Gregory would break free from Glitchtrap. Glamrock Freddy would malfunction upon scanning Gregory during a performance. Due to Freddy being a prototype, this caused Freddy to be rebooted into safe mode, disconnecting from the Pizzaplex system and thus breaking his link to the anomaly. Gregory and Freddy would team up to defeat Vanessa and escape the Pizzaplex, shattering the Glamrock animatronics in the process. Gregory would play Princess Quest arcade games, which also contained a fragment of Cassidy that remained attached to the piece of William that escaped Freddy, following Glitchtrap to the virtual reality experience, and then to the arcade games after Princess Quest was ported to arcade. Beating all 3 games freed Vanessa from Glitchtrap's control. Vanessa Gregory and Freddy's shattered head would then escape the Pizzaplex. Underground, Cassidy would sense a part of William's essence cry out after Gregory defeated the last Princess Quest game. Sensing that it came from the Pizzaplex above, the giant Tangle would dig out from the underground pizza place and towards the Pizzaplex, creating an earthquake that collapsed parts of the Pizzaplex. This would result in the Pizzaplex closing down, but it also ended up awakening the Mimic from its slumber. The Mimic would get access to the Pizzaplex system, using it to contact a girl named Cassie. Cassie is a friend of Gregory's, and so the Mimic would pretend to be Gregory in need of help in order to get Cassie to go down to it and free it. Cassie would then use the Vanny mask to destroy the security nodes. Destroying these security nodes weakened the MXE computer protocol, but at the same time, it also threatened the Glitchtrap entity, as shutting down the MXES protocol also meant shutting down the entity as well, and so it would send distress signals to the animatronics in order to prevent Cassie from progressing. Cassie would eventually shut down the MXES computer, allowing her to use her forklift to break through the concrete walls that led to what he thought was Gregory. She would encounter the Mimic instead, who was pretending to be Gregory, but she was able to escape thanks to Roxy and the guidance of the real Gregory, ending her story with 3 possible endings. A story that will continue with Help 1 to 2 later this year.